So I'm Bryant.
I'm Arissa.
And this is the Juniper Gypsy. We've been on the road now for about 3 months, and we've actually been living in the bus for about 1.5 years now. It's done, like any bus is done. It's always a few more projects here and there that we think we want to do or we should do, but at this point, we're done and traveling.
Welcome to the interior of the bus. This is our little kitchen area. Our countertops are 175-year-old juniper. Bryant actually went to pick up a different slab of wood and came across this on accident, and it ended up being a perfect addition to our bus that ties in with the color of the ceiling really well. We have a cubic grizzly little fireplace here. We burn compressed logs in it that you can pick up at any hardware store. We also will burn coal sometimes to have it burn for longer period that doesn't get quite as hot. It's super efficient. It heats up this place really quickly. We have this little fan that's thermal activated and kicks on to spread the heat around really quickly. Moving back from the little fireplace, we have our full apartment-sized stove here. We have 4 burners, all run off of propane. We have a full-size oven as well. It's been super nice to have the full size and all 4 burners. Knowing that we cook a lot in here, we typically will use all of the functions of the stove pretty regularly. The sink has been super nice. We have plenty of space. We use this little bucket here to wash our dishes in and collect water to do that. It comes with a little drying rack that just sits on the top of the sink. And it's pretty easy to clean out. This detaches so you can spray around the sink when needed. Inside of the cupboards, we have all of our cleaning products and a little broom and mop and everything. So we've got all of our cleaning supplies in there. So Bryant actually went through after a storm in our little hometown and picked up a bunch of old fence wood that had blown down, collected all of it, stained it, and put it all up. So that is what this background is here. Got some little rocks and stuff for display for fun, and we just keep all of our spices up here on these shelves. They're just easy access for kitchen supplies that we need. So these blinds open from the top or the bottom. They can be moved either way. They have strings along the sides, so when we're driving they don't sway too much. They stay relatively in place. We wanted to put a window in front of the sinks, so when you're doing dishes and cooking you have a nice view over here. It's really the only window on this area of the bus, so it gives us a view from this location. And then up here we have our fantastic fan. Has a little remote control with it. It is super efficient when you're cooking to keep humidity levels down. We'll usually open up a window and turn the fan on, and it helps clear out any extra smoke or anything that's in the bus from cooking. On the other side of the kitchen, across from the stove, we have our large counter space area. We have our little WeBoost internet extender, so it helps bring in service to higher levels. On this countertop is usually where we have all of our food preparation going on. I really like to cook in here and make different meals, so it gives me plenty of space to prep everything and do what I need to do. We've got all of our dog stuff down here. It's our little storage area, and these stools actually come out and makes for a little countertop here, and they just tuck right in here nicely. In this drawer here, we keep all of our utensils. We've got just bigger kitchen supplies in here. This is just our common household junk drawer. Got like dish towels, Ziploc bags, storage containers, and everything in these lower drawers. Moving back from the kitchen, we have our apartment-sized fridge right here. It is a 120-volt fridge. It does run very efficiently. However, it does run off of the inverter. We have our little humidity detector here, so we always like to keep track of our humidity levels and make sure that we're not building up too much moisture in our bus. We have these clips here that attach when we're driving, so it holds the fridge closed during our travel times. I think that we made the right decision on the fridge. It has plenty of space for what we need. We like to cook our own meals in here, so we have plenty of storage for food and don't need to go grocery shopping as often to get fresh fruits and vegetables. I think that it fits really nicely in the space and it doesn't feel like it's taking too much area up. So for us, I think it was a perfect fit. Moving back from the fridge, we have all of our food storage area. We have all of our tea and coffee. We're big coffee drinkers. We've got our dishes, plates, all of our common everyday dishes, a few medications, oatmeal, breakfast food, all stored in here. We probably have enough food with canned goods and emergency food that we could cover ourselves for about 3 months. We do like to get fresh produce, so we try to go grocery shopping more often than that, but we could make it quite a bit longer. We do have a 100-gallon water tank in the back that typically lasts us a few weeks, usually about 2 weeks if we're not being super careful with our water usage. We do fill up 5-gallon buckets of drinking water that we use, and we have 2 of those. We typically have to fill those up about every week or so to keep on top of our water. Moving towards the very back of the bus, we've got our closet storage area. So in these big cabinets, they have all of our clothes that are hung up. In these drawers down here, we each have 2 drawers to ourselves. So we keep our socks, underwear, everything like that in the top drawers. And then we keep like pants folded up and some t-shirts and stuff in these next 2 drawers. We got a queen size purple mattress for our bed. They are amazing. They're super comfortable. And the purple sheets are also the best sheets I've ever used. We love them. We have a little nightstand back here as well. We just have some decorations and we can set our books if we're reading or some water for the night. We do have a window with a nice view so we can look out whenever we desire. We've got some little reading lamps on the side. To get up on top of the bed, we kind of have to use this little step stool and jump up, and it can be challenging for some people, but it hasn't been much of an issue for us. We do have to lift Asher, our dog, up onto the bed, and we try to avoid him jumping down too much.
So the idea for the bus originally came from just kind of having a little bit of nomadic blood in me. I like to travel around and live in different places. I tend to get tired of where I live, and so I like to move to a new town and, moving a lot of stuff. I've always been more of a minimalist because of how much I moved. I always like to downsize and have less and less things that I'm trying to take with me. I'd even traveled and lived out of a van for a little bit, just not a converted van, but literally just stripped the seats out and traveled for almost a year in a van. And so I set out to create a plan, and the first part of that plan was actually that I needed to have an income that I could work from the road while doing it. So either finding a job, or in my case, I started some businesses that allowed me to work remotely from online no matter where I was, with the goal there also to be able to step more out of the business and work less hours, to be able to enjoy the time on the road more. The process of building it, though, because I was still in the process of working my jobs and building my businesses, that took about 3 years on and off. I think if I condense the time down, it took me a little over a year, but I had a lot going on in between that. I met Arissa towards the end of the bus build phase, and it was kind of a fortuitous meeting. I generally traveled out to the Philippines for my business, but they weren't allowing any travel because of COVID. Arissa was going out to Africa to start a nonprofit, and so I'd had some time set aside to travel internationally, and she had an opportunity for volunteers to come out and help, and so I went to Africa with her, and that's how our relationship started. Welcome to the front of the bus. This is our living room area. We spend most of our time here each day, just either on the couch here, watching TV, or just kind of relaxing and enjoying our day. The TV here we've got on a drop-down motor, so the TV raises and lowers, and this turns into a just another countertop here. It was important for us. We like having a TV, but we really don't like the aesthetic of a TV when it's not on, just a big black box. It also took up a lot of our view of this window, so if we want to be traveling or we're enjoying more of the area that we're in and the views, then we'll lower the TV down and we can look out the windows. Over here with the TV on either side, we've got additional shelving space. We're big book readers, so we've got, you know, a fairly good sized library for an RV on this side. We've got kind of trinkets and knickknacks that we've been collecting from places we've traveled to, as well as some additional crystals, tarot cards, whatever else you want to keep. And then over here, I actually built this shelf here to house the new PS5, if you can ever buy one because they're so hard to come by. But I do have a PS4 here now. And then below it, we also have space for DVDs. We've got journals, more crystals, things like that down there. So it's actually been a really nice and functional space for what it is. Again, just being able to have our TV and books with us has been really nice for when we have days that we're more hanging out inside. Okay, over on this side of the living room, we've got our couch area. I see a lot of people doing DIY couches and cushions. That was kind of the original concept, but I actually ended up going with a futon off of Amazon online. I knocked the legs off of it and then just mounted it right onto slats underneath it. That allowed me to have space underneath the couch for the battery system, some of the electronic control components, solar charge controller, and turbo Victron unit that controls all of the electronic systems. So if there's ever a problem, everything shuts down. It's very safe. We also use lithium-ion batteries down here. And then on the right side of it, we've also got some additional storage. So since this is a futon, we can pull it out and it drops down into a bed. We've actually had quite a few people come and stay on this couch. From what I hear, and we've slept on it too, it's not the most comfortable bed you could sleep on compared to our purple mattress, but we've had people come and stay for a week at a time and they sleep on here and have very few complaints at all on it. And for the cost and ease of installing, I feel like this was a much easier solution than, you know, getting your own foam pads and then having somebody create the wrapping for it. So we've really enjoyed having it just pre-built and made ready to slide in and use. So here in the bus, we've got tongue and groove. This was cedar 1/4-inch tongue and groove paneling on the ceiling. We stained it red and Bombay mahogany. Staining took a lot of time, but it turned out really pretty. We got the color scheme idea from a gypsy wagon build that we saw, and just really liked the red ceiling. It makes me happy every time I look at it. We did a 1.5 foot roof raise, and I don't think there's any other way to do a bus. This is the original height of the ceiling of the bus, and you can see it just, once adding insulation to the floor and ceiling, really cuts down the clearance that you have. Raising the roof makes it feel much more spacious, makes it feel like more of a livable area. The transition from the roof raise was a little bit harder to do with the ceiling panels that we put in, but honestly, once you start, it actually goes really easy. And I don't have a lot of construction or carpentry background. Everything I learned was from watching YouTube videos and other builds. So if I can figure this out, so can you. Another big risk that we took on our bus was putting in residential windows. We went with residential windows for a few different reasons. One was cost. Residential windows are about half the cost of RV windows. So we were able to get residential windows custom made to fit in the original frame of the bus where the old windows went. At a much cheaper price. They're double paned, gas filled, high elevation windows, which after talking with the manufacturer should withstand the elevation changes from us traveling from up in the mountains down to sea level. We shouldn't see those cracking or building up moisture in between the two panes. So far we've had no problems with them, but I've also talked with the manufacturer and there are options to kind of do quick repairs on them if there were ever moisture issues. Our reasoning on it was that I can buy 2 residential windows for every 1 RV window. And so if I have a problem, I can replace a window and I'm still at a cheaper cost than the RV. They were really easy to install. Like I said, we custom ordered them to fit in between the original framework of the bus. And so we added wood into the hat channel grooves on the frame and screwed the windows right in. We got flush flange windows for the outside. It means that there's a nice gap of plastic on the outside that we filled with silicone to prevent any water from making its way inside. And then we just pushed them right up against the bus, screwed them in, tightened them down, and then built our frame on the inside around them. So coming up to the front of the bus, this is actually the driver's seat and the driving area of the bus, but space is really important in a bus and you've got to make use of every space you can. So we put the driver's chair on a swivel base and custom ordered this seat from Prime Seating. It's a truck seating that has a built-in seatbelt into it, so we don't have to have the seatbelt mounted into the wall. It makes it easier for the chair to swivel. And then I can use this as my desk area as well. So the desk is raised up a bit, but because of the air ride seating in the chair, I can raise and lower my desk chair. And then we both work from the road, and so we can both work from here depending on who's on and who's off. We can put our laptops here. We have a computer monitor on a swivel here that we can pull out and turn into a second monitor. We've also installed USB ports and multiple electrical outlets over here so that we can run all of our electronics. We've got our control station over here that has our security system cameras for the outside, so we can monitor everything that's happening around our bus while we're away or while we're inside. If anything's happening, we know that it is, and we can follow up. Mostly we catch funny videos of ourselves outside of the bus right now doing something stupid, and then we have a forever memory of it. And then we also cast all of our engine information to this same computer as well. So this has our odometer, tachometer, speedometer. I don't know if that's the right term, but we're going to call it that. And then we get a lot of other really cool information that casts onto this device as well. We get turbo boost, engine load, it monitors coolant temperature, transmission temperature, and a lot of other really functional things that are nice to be able to see as we're driving, just to keep an eye on the engine and make sure that everything is working the way that it should. Over here at the front of the bus, we've got our mini split inverter indoor unit. This does heating and cooling. It's a 22 SEER model from Pioneer Mini Split. We ordered it directly from them with all of the plumbing preloaded with the coolant in the lines. The install's pretty straightforward on it. One of the big selling points for the Mini Split is that it does have a soft start on the inverter. And so it incrementally increases the wattage or electricity that it's using as it starts up, instead of having a massive draw right in the beginning, which can be harder on your electronic components.
When we first left on our travels, I had to quit my job in the area because it was not a source of income that could be attained on the road. So I knew I didn't have a job going into this, and I was a little nervous about that. There's definitely quite a few concerns starting out, but I felt relatively confident in being able to find remote work, especially with the pandemic and everything. I feel like a lot of remote opportunities have opened up. I was on Indeed, and Indeed was the biggest job searching site I used. I used a variety of different resources, and I got a TEFL certificate to look into like teaching English online to foreign countries, and it did take a good few months actually before I came across an opportunity that I liked. But I did find a job as a content writer with a company called Addiction Recovery, and it is writing on all forms of psychological aspects to kind of help different companies and like feeding into their clientele and articles that could help them. So that has been a super awesome job. The flexibility of it is very nice. You pretty much get assigned articles to write and you have a month to complete them, and you just have to submit them by the due date. But other than that, it's free game. I've been looking at starting grad school in the fall and looking at online school and everything too. So it is a little challenging to find remote work, but there are a lot of opportunities available. Just kind of have to keep working at it and give it some time.
Coming into our bathroom on this side, we've got a small sink, and then also our toilet here. We put it into a bench storage. It helps keep the smell and everything contained, and also gives us a nice area to sit and work on if we're, if Arissa's applying makeup or I'm shaving, anything like that. We went with a composting dry toilet. So we separate our urine from our solids. The urine actually drops into a 100-gallon holding tank underneath the bus. We use HEPVO dry valves to keep any smell from coming back up through the drain system. We have a storage bin here for peat moss. We actually use coconut core, better for the environment, so I've been told. Over here on the wall, we have a on-demand propane tankless water heater. This is the Excel tankless water heater. We've found it to be extremely efficient. It kicks on, the reason we went with the Excel is it kicks on with a really low water pressure from the water pump, so it kicks on a lot faster than other ones available on the market. A lot of people have said that there have been issues with tankless water heaters kicking on with mix valves on sinks or in the shower. And so they've found that separating the hot and cold into their own separate valves has been better for getting temperature the right way. With this one, we've been able to use mixing valves and we haven't had a problem with the water temperature coming out of the tap or the shower. I don't think you can fine tune it as much, but it was a lot easier to be able to install valves that are readily available at local hardware stores. On the Excel tankless water heater, it is ventless. So you can see here this fin that comes up to direct heat away. We have set it down as far as the manufacturer recommended, and we haven't noticed any real heat damage occurring, but we do keep a really close eye on it. So if we ever needed to adjust that, we could. It comes with an O2 sensor so that if it is ever pulling more O2 than is available in the environment, that it will shut the hot water off. We've actually never had that happen. We usually have a window cracked when we're showering just to allow humidity and moisture to get out while we're also running the vent fan in the kitchen. And the bifold bathroom door, because it has the laveur blinds, it also allows a lot of air to come in as well. So it really hasn't been a problem, and we've been really happy with this tankless hot water system. Coming on to this side of the bathroom, we have the shower area. In the original design, our shower was going to be quite a bit smaller, and after kind of mocking out the space and seeing the room we had to maneuver within the shower, we decided we had to make it larger. So this is a 3x3 shower area. We went with full tile in the shower. It adds a considerable amount of weight to your build, which is something you should be aware of if you are choosing to do tile in your shower. But for us, the aesthetic appeal and the cleanliness and longevity of it was worth it. To get the tiles to adhere without falling off while driving down the road, we used a flexible mortar and grout. You can pick it up at Lowe's specifically. And we went with a porcelain mock slate tile, so we get the natural stone look without the issues of trying to clean slate, which can be really challenging to clean. This is a 4-tiered telescoping shower rack, and we just picked it up on Amazon, had it delivered. You can pick them up at Walmart. We just couldn't find it in the color that we wanted. Behind the shower tiles, to seal everything in and make sure that we didn't have any leaks, we went with the Curdy Schluter sealing system for showers. It is expensive, but it's almost guaranteed not to leak, and where we do have some flexing and movement within the bus, we felt that the expense was well worth it to make sure that we don't have any leaks and we're not having to come back and tear this tile out and redo it later. The Curdy Schluter system also comes with a shower pan that installs into the floor. It makes it really easy to drop the pipes right into our holding tank, which is directly below the shower here. We did with our shower, like I said, we went with a single mixing valve here, so this mixes hot and cold. You are able to adjust the mix of hot and cold water in the valve itself, as well as there's some settings on the tankless water heater as well. So we're able to fine tune the water for us. It's not always perfect, but we are able to find a really good balance between hot and cool water while we're showering. So back here by the bedroom, we have our washer dryer combo from LG. Same thing, bought it at Home Depot. They took most of my money while I was doing this build. It is a really convenient thing to have in the bus. The reason I bought it was because I had a friend doing his conversion and he kept asking if he could do laundry at my house, and I wanted to avoid that while I was on the road. As nice as it's been to have it, we actually haven't had to use it as much just because we have had friends that we are staying at, so we have been able to use their washer and dryer. It runs off 120, so you don't have to wire 220 in for it. It's really convenient that way. The only downside to it really is that on the washer and dryer mode, it takes about 3.5 hours to wash and dry. The electricity usage through all of that is actually pretty reasonable for what it is, but the time alone is unfortunate. Really, we'll use it to wash like socks, underwear, things that we absolutely need, while we are much more careful about how frequently we wash more of our like road clothes that we're using. And then back here underneath the bed, we've got the 100-gallon water tank, which runs across the bus. We built a metal cage around that and bolted it through the frame and the floor to keep it in place while we're driving, make sure it's never sliding around. Back here in this cubby, we also have a crawl space to get through and access the emergency door in the back if we ever had any issues. So keeping that space open to provide multiple points of exit was important to us as well. So I think once you've decided that this is a lifestyle that you want to do, and I think deciding that up front is the most important part, I think the hardest part of like actually pulling the trigger is that you start doing all of this research and you almost have like decision maker freeze because there's so many options available, so many different ways to do it. You start looking at all the build types you can do and how you can put it together, and once you start gathering all that information, it can become overwhelming to see what actually needs to be done. And so the most important thing I think is to just take baby steps with it. Like for us, it was buying the bus. Like then we're pretty committed at that point. We have a bus, and then, you know, obviously there's a lot to do to make the build, but the next step was we'll tear the seats out, and then it was we'll tear the floor out, tear the walls out, tear the ceiling out, and then raise the roof. And if you just take it like a small piece at a time, things become very, very manageable. And then once I started doing that, it was like actually magical how things just like literally fell into place. I think when you're in the right place doing the right thing, that like the universe will literally start structuring things to just work. And so even though it's challenging, like the appropriate things fall into place one after the other, and then someday, a few years from now, you'll be looking at it and you'll be like, well, how the hell did I end up here? And it's like, well, because you kept taking the next step and the next step. So don't get too caught into the future with what you just have to do right now.
I think just allowing yourself to have like the freedom to experience it. Like it can be overwhelming to step away from a safe home standpoint and going into unknown traveling all the time, but I think it honestly is really rewarding, and there's already been a lot of cool adventures and cool people we've met, and the best is still yet to come.
We just started. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to keep up and follow us while we're out on the road on our adventures, you can click on the links that are below. Our bus is at the Juniper Gypsy, and we've also got a dog that rides a motorcycle at Asher Motorcycle on Instagram.
We'd also like to tell you about our nonprofit that we work with. We work with Tabarak Children's Home in Mombasa, Kenya. I spent 6 months last year living out there with them, and Bryant came out for a couple months, but we're looking for volunteers and donors and everything. You can visit our website. It'll also be listed down below if you want to look into coming to Mombasa and experiencing for yourself.